Hi everyone, it's Jenny Fitterer here, coming in hot with your Leo season forecast. So as always with these forecasts, we're going to start with the planetary transits that are happening and talking a bit about those and what you can expect from them, and then we will be doing a single tarot card reading for the collective. So today, while we're starting with Leo season, technically, I'm actually going to start with a transit that I should have included in Cancer season, but there was so much going on in Cancer season, I kind of missed it in that video, and we don't have too many different transits we're going to talk about today, so I'm going to go back and talk about this one, and it's a really important one because it's actually one that's going to be lasting for about 18 months. So we're going to talk about Leo season, and so Leo season runs from July 22nd to August 23rd, at least here in the Pacific Standard Time where I'm at. And Leo season, the energy of Leo is, we have lots of concepts with Leo, like the lion heart or being very proud and egoic. Leo is sort of seen as the one who takes center stage, the one who likes to be a leader, who likes to be expressive, who wants to be seen for who they truly are. A lot of these energies come up in Leo. There can be a sort of superiority kick with Leo sometimes. So in the healthy way, Leo just is very confident, very, very sure of themselves, and is able to show up as themselves without feeling ashamed or unabashed. That when it's in excessive sort of energy can lead to a superiority kick and thinking that you're better than other people, and just sort of believing so much in yourself that you're kind of always have to be first place. We can also have in Leo season a big feeling of insecurity, which is really wanting to be confident and wanting to be in that kind of center stage, but really feeling a little bit more shame and nervousness and embarrassment. So that's sort of like kind of like the insufficient Leo energy. So we're looking for that middle ground of confidence in between that kind of insecurity and grasping and needing to be center stage because you don't feel confident in and of yourself on your own without a lot of other people kind of giving you praise and accolades. Your sort of confidence depends on external sources. And then we have kind of to far the other side where you can be just kind of, better than everybody else, and that has its own downside. So that's sort of the meter of Leo in its confidence sense. Leo is very connected to the heart. So Leo, yes, as being expressive and wanting to be seen. That's the core of Leo is being tapped into the heart, what the heart wants to say, and then listening to what it has to say and sharing it with others, which is the expression component, and that sort of more being in the center stage. So this is often very tied to artistic expression. Leos are often seen as the performers, whether that's singers, dancers, actors. It's also somebody who creates their art and wants it to be seen. So these are aspects of Leo season. So what that might mean for us with the sun coming into Leo. Leo is actually ruled by the sun, so there's kind of a little extra oomph here. So the sun, when it comes into a sign, it sort of shines that big light on those topics, and we become a little bit more aware of them in our day-to-day life. So we might be finding maybe up until this point we've been working on a lot of things, or we've been really connecting into our heart space or who we see ourselves to be and what we want to contribute in the world, but we haven't really had that that impetus to bring it forward yet, to really connect with others, to really like take a risk and step out and be seen with it. So now with the sun moving into Leo, that just kind of gives us a little bit extra permission to say, yep, now's the time. It's time for me to step out. It's time for me to, and it doesn't mean that you suddenly like book a giant performance hall in front of thousands of people. It can just be an idea that you've been having in your heart for a little while, and you talk to one or two friends about it, or you confide in somebody and you start to take that thing that's inside of you and have it be seen even just among a few people. It doesn't have to be this grand sort of step up. So that's sort of some of the things that we're going to see with Leo season. We may sort of, again, because of that desire to be seen, sometimes it can feel like we're fighting for space in the airwaves. So you're kind of really wanting to have your sort of thing showcased, but other people are as well. So we do need to kind of remember our skill sets of getting along with other people and not, having to stomp forward all the time and get our way and be first all the time, which really, if we lean into that center of confidence that is found inside of our heart ideally and not ported out to how other people see us, then we are able to take our turn and wait our turn because we understand that we're not going anywhere. We understand that what we have to contribute is important, and if we do wait a little bit, because everybody also wants to express, that's not going to diminish that fire and that gift that you have to give. So Leo might not be the most patient, but I'll just offer that as a potential if there are sort of frictions that way. So that's just some basic Leo concepts with the sun moving into Leo on July 22nd. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk about that transit that has already happened as July, well, technically I'm filming this on July 17th, so it just happened today. So this is the switching of the nodes. So I don't know if I've talked about this very much because the nodes only switch every 18 months, so I'm not sure if we've gotten to it on one of these videos. So I'll just have a little quick description of the nodes. So when we talk about the nodes, we have what's called a north node and a south node. And they're not actual planets. They're not an actual object in the sky. They have to do with how the moon oscillates in its angles to the sun, and it determines how and when we have our eclipses. So we always have eclipses a few times a year, and where the nodes are, so when I say where the nodes are, I mean what signs they're in opposition to each other. So the north node and the south node are always opposite, so we'll have pairs. So we've just had 18 months of the north node in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio, which means that the last few eclipses we've had have always straddled that. We've either had a full moon in Scorpio and a new moon eclipse in Taurus, or we've had a full moon eclipse in Taurus and a new moon eclipse in Scorpio. So the nodes they're part of the sine wave of the moon as it traverses kind of in its angle across the sun. So it's an astronomy thing. So it's not an actual point. But when we talk about the nodes switching, we're talking about the fact that those nodes spend about 18 months in one pair of signs and determining where the eclipses are, and then they travel backwards. So the nodes are technically retrograding. So instead of going forward from Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, the way we're used to seeing our planets kind of move through the solar system, we're going backwards in a retrograde fashion. So the nodes go backwards, say from Cancer and Capricorn to Gemini, Sagittarius, and they've just been in Taurus and Scorpio. And so the nodes are switching today, July 17th. The north node is going to be in Aries, and the south node is now going to be in Libra for the next 18 months or so. So I'm going to give a little description about what the north and south node do. So the north node, in one sense of astrology, they've been described of the the head of the dragon and the tail of the dragon. So the head of the dragon is the north node, and the head is a big mouth, so it brings in, it's eating things. So the north node is this energy of what we're bringing in, we're pulling in, and we're wanting to incorporate these concepts and our energies more. So north node, that head of the dragon, is bringing in that energy. And then the tail of the dragon, or the ass of the dragon, is where things get released, things come out. And so the south node, the tail of the dragon, is the things that we are trying to release or move past. It doesn't mean we're excommunicating them. It means that whatever sort of the old stagnant ways that we've maybe been doing those concepts are going to be released in order to have something new. So they work together because the north and the south node are always those polarized signs, so they're always connected. So it tends to be that we're bringing in one concept and we're releasing the other. And this is a slow process. As I said, we stay in these nodes for about 18 months. So it's not a thing that happens in one day. It's that over time you'll have been seeing that these sort of north node behaviors are maybe being brought in and incorporated and invited into your life more. And then there's these other options that have maybe been released. So the north node has just changed from Taurus, where we were bringing in a lot of Taurus concepts, into Aries. So now we're going to be bringing in, north node is going to be bringing in Aries concepts. I'm going to talk about Aries for a little bit, and then we'll talk about, I'm just kind of pointing to the head and the tail here, about Libra south node. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and Aries is all about the ego, about the self, about not concerned with other people. It is who am I, in a very pure and kind of in a way impulsive way. It's not who do I think I am, who have I learned myself to be through practice. It's this core essence of who am I. It's my identity, and we all have, we can get into the nature nurture conversations of how much of our identity is something that is innate inside of us that we discover, and how much of our identity is something that we do build and choose over time. So I believe it's a little bit of both. So we can add in and increase practices and change our beliefs and slowly, gradually make changes in ourselves that does sort of change who we are. Or there may have been aspects about us that we know who we are. We know these innate parts of ourselves, but we've been really hiding it. We haven't felt safe for some reason. We felt it hasn't really been a good time to show up. So Aries elements are all about getting back into that core egoic sense of your identity and being comfortable to to live into that. So the North Node is all about bringing things in, incorporating them in. So we're really wanting to bring in those Aries concepts. We're wanting to bring in those core identity pieces. Aries can also be impulsive. It's not really a think before you leap thing. It is, okay, what does it feel like I want to do? And I'm going to go for it. It's very actionable. Aries is very much about taking new action and new inspiration. So, and that can be very tied to our identity. So with this node shift, we're kind of being invited into taking a bit more action on things that feel related to our core sense of self. So it might mean a little bit in this time period, there's maybe a little bit less checking in with other people to say, what do you think? What do you think I should do? And more trying to build the strength of acting on your own impulses and your own intuition. Obviously, you know, we do want to be adults here. We do have a skill set of not every impulse is going to be a healthy one to follow through. So it's less about I need to act on every impulse, and it's more, am I acting according to my inner compass and my sense of self, or am I acting according to expectations? What I think I should do, what other people have told me I should do. And have I just been sort of shaping my identity around how other people want me to be? Or am I really taking action based on my core self? So we're essentially undergoing kind of an identity shift, whether that's creating a new identity because you've kind of realized that some of your behaviors are really not really working for you, or it's a rediscovering and allowing the parts of you that have been stifled to come out again. So this is going to be a ongoing process. Like I said, we're going to be in this for 18 months. This is the start of that adventure. So don't feel like you have to like jump out all at once and like totally formed as a new individual. This is a process. You can have patience. So that's the North Node in Aries. Then we're going to have the South Node in Libra. So Libra is the opposite sign to Aries. And where Aries is very concerned about the ego and the self, Libra is very much more involved in the relationship to other. So Libra is, who am I? How do I understand myself through the mirror of relationship to other people? So this is often, very often, where we look at our romantic relationships, but it doesn't have to be that. It's any sort of way in which we are engaged with another and we are learning and discovering about ourselves in that reciprocal relationship. So Libra has a lot to do with our relationships, has also a lot to do with balance and justice and harmony. So once we're in relationship with other people as an individual level, we need to be fair to each other. We want to have a degree of harmony, that everybody's having their needs met and understanding each other. So we practice these things in our one-on-one relationships, but these are all concepts that we scale up in our family, in our community, in our global community. All the ways in which we scale build in relationships in small ways also gets blown up in a larger way. So we can then think about justice on a larger scale. We can think about balance and harmony in a larger scale. And so when we talk about the South Node as being a time to release these things, what I'm not saying is that we're going to throw away all of our relationships, we're going to dump anything to do with justice, and we're going to say, screw you, harmony. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more that any of our maybe old beliefs about those relationships, or our old habits of how we maybe seek harmony, maybe when we seek harmony at the expense of our authentic self, we want to be able to release and reprogram those behaviors. So it's a sort of subtle thing where it doesn't mean let's all be Aries and F Libra, let's all do whatever we want and who cares about other people. It's more, what can I bring in about and really lean into my core essence and my ego and my sense of self, and what are the outdated or maybe unhealthy ways in which I've been in relationship to other people that I can let go. Or another way you could think about it is, if I'm changing who I am, then how I related to other people is going to change too. If I've been behaving, my old self had its way of relating with people, and maybe it worked super well. Maybe it doesn't mean those were unhealthy. They were just the ways in which you related to other people when you were one way. And now if you are choosing to change and grow into something a little bit more authentic or a little bit more suited to this time of your life, then you are going to need to evolve the ways in which you relate to people. And a lot of that is going to look like release and letting go, because not everybody is magically going to like tune into your new way of being and perfectly switch into an ideal relationship model. There's going to be some losses, there's going to be some changes, there's going to be some hard conversations, and or you might also be meeting the new Aries spark in somebody else. So maybe you're comfortable the way a relationship is, but somebody else is changing and growing and learning more about who they are. And so the way that they want to relate to you is going to need to change. So if you want to still be in relationship with them, then you maybe need to release the old habits in order to build something new. So these two always work together. They're not a canceling out. It's not like, North Node is what is awesome and South Node is crap. If you can see that flow of bringing in the new nutrition and then releasing that which we've already metabolized and making space for what we're bringing in now. So that's sort of the way the nodes work. So as a little kind of brief, it's a really large topic, so I'm just kind of covering it really briefly. So just coming back in then. So the date for that change was July 17th, here again, Pacific time, where the nodes have changed out of that Taurus Scorpio position into Aries and Libra. So this is a pretty big kind of thing. But like I said, this isn't a identity makeover in one day. This is a gradual process. So it doesn't have to be cataclysmically disruptive to your life. It is just noticing that things are going to change in how you view yourself and how you view your relationships. So that is the node switch. So now I'm actually just going to talk about 2 more transits in Leo season because we don't have too many new transits that are happening. So this one actually is we're going to be talking a bit about Chiron, which is going to kind of tie in a little bit to what I said with the nodes, but I'm going to bring it in with a little bit of a different twist. So Chiron has been in Aries for a while, and Chiron is technically a comet. It's not a typical planet, and Chiron is, it's sort of, the phrase for Chiron is the wounded healer, which, if it works for you, it works for you. But the concept of Chiron is the ways in which we have either struggled or been wounded or experienced hardship in our lives that hasn't just been a passing season, a storm that blows over and we're pretty much the same, but something that's been a really deep effect. And that's happened probably kind of at an earlier stage in our life, and that sort of wounding has shaped us, and it's been something we've had to work around. That's been kind of a part of our identity, whether that's being, when you were young, having a bit of a traumatic family break situation, whether that's an injury or an illness that ended up being a lasting issue for you, whether mental health sort of crisis or a social disruption in your livelihood and economic place of your origin, whatever it is, something that's kind of pretty solidly impactful. Chiron is the invitation and the life journey to take that wound and, in the search for healing of that wound, to take what you've then learned from that and be able to disseminate it as wisdom or medicine or teachings for other people who might have the same wound. It does not promise that you will heal the wound fully, but it is that as you learn how to live with that wound and how it teaches you about how you can live, and gives you a wisdom and an experience that people who haven't gone through that issue don't have, you then now have learned something and you can share it. So the idea of Chiron is sort of like the physician who sort of becomes a doctor because they were trying to help themselves. And in trying to heal themselves, they now are more skilled at healing others. So Chiron, that's what the comet, wherever its sign is. So as we all have our natal charts, we all have a particular Chiron wound that's its own kind of life journey. But as Chiron moves across the sky, it's kind of like, it kind of pokes us at the kind of the wounds of that sign and gives us a chance to learn how to heal it and then take that new skill set into the world. So Chiron has been in Aries for a while now. Chiron moves also, I think, takes about a year and a half to move through a sign. So Chiron has been moving through Aries. And so Aries, as we talked about regarding the nodes, has a lot to do with identity, ego, sense of self. Also actually has to do with our kind of our warrior energy, how we are combative or fight, where we show up and have value in aggression, also has aspects of Aries. So Chiron has been, for a while, has actually already been kind of triggering some identity wounds for us. So collectively, we've been forced to take a look at, who am I? And maybe forced to look at who am I by being challenged or by being hurt. by not the like, you know, rosy opportunity of being invited in to show off who you are, but in somebody challenging you, or you feeling like you don't belong, or having some life event or something that kind of takes something you strongly identified with and shakes it up or takes it away from you and forces you to ask, well, who are you? Who are you without that? Who are you really? And keep asking those questions. And as we're forced to learn that, and we have to figure those questions out, then we gain that new knowledge, and we may then have a better opportunity to share that with others who might be struggling with something similar. So Chiron's been in Aries for a while, and now Chiron is going retrograde. So still going to be in Aries, but now doing that little lovely backwards motion that retrogrades do. So retrogrades, as I've shared many times, have a lot to do with review and reflection and a slowing down from the forward energetic charge of getting things done in a direct way. And it's more about, okay, circling back. Maybe we take a pause. Maybe we do some reflection. Maybe we think, okay, course correct a bit. We've been charging forward in this way. So in this case, we may have been doing this great identity search, and we may have been feeling our identities and our egos challenged. And we've been like, maybe, you know, this is who I am. And now we maybe in retrograde, we don't have to say, oh, that was all wrong. But we sort of say, okay, look, where have we gone in this path? Where have we gone in this adventure? And where are we headed? Maybe some of that was just a reactive thing of this is who I am now, and maybe some of this, okay, well, maybe we can direct this way a little bit. Maybe this is actually who I am now, or this is actually what I want to do. So it's a slowing down and a course correct and an adjustment and reflection, really more and more being reflected as to who am I, and who do I want to be, and so Chiron retrograding in Aries right when the North Node moves into Aries as well, and is going to be bringing in significantly more opportunity to establish and create your new identity. That kind of, it feels a bit of a relief to me, because Chiron can often be like poking in kind of uncomfortable ways. So we've already maybe been having identity shakeups through a little bit of discomfort, but North Node isn't like everything airy-fairy is coming at you, but it is bringing in things. So the universe is going to, or, you know, Godhead, or whatever your sort of language is around kind of that larger energy that it is, maybe then giving more opportunity. So it's kind of like if retrograde and Chiron has been making us ask the question of who am I, especially if Chiron's been poking and saying, well, this isn't you. So this retrograde, you ask, who am I? The North Node kind of brings you more opportunity to say, is this you? Well, what about this? Well, how about this? And if you've been questing and already kind of asking that, North Node starts to bring in these opportunities that you can take and build into your answer of that question. So some of those might be difficult, some of those might be comfortable, whatever it is, and not everything that comes your way that challenges you and presents you with an opportunity to build into that ego is going to work for you, because you get the choice. This is your Aries moment where it's about you. It's about what you think and feel and what feels authentic to you. So something's going to come and you'll be like, no. Something's going to come and you're going to say yes. Our identity is defined both by what we say yes to and what we say no to. So all of those are really helpful information. The things that you don't like and you push away, that is a thank you. Thank you for teaching me about what I don't want, what I'm not comfortable with. And since we are in Aries, we might push back kind of angrily against that. No, I really don't want that. So do try to be kind, but we may, have that strong kick of no. And a no defines us. And then we'll bring things that feel really desirable and really fulfilling, and that feels like it fits. And that's a yes. And that yes also defines us. So that's just kind of a little bit how the Chiron retrograde is going to be offering a bit of a slowed down examination of what it's already been showing you. And again, it might feel also that Chiron North Node balance of Chiron, it does often kind of work through discomfort. And retrogrades, it's not that retrogrades are innately uncomfortable, it's more that often if we are having a hard time slowing down into the energy of reflection, we can kind of trip on ourselves. If we're trying to be direct and we're trying to say, who am I? I gotta figure this out right now. Then that's slower. It's just like running when you should be walking, and then you can trip. So it's not that there's anything innately scary. It's just you are invited to come into that a little bit slower reflective energy so that you don't trip on yourself. So that's Chiron retrograde in July 23rd. So pretty much as soon as Leo moves in, or the sun moves into Leo, Chiron's going to start retrograding. And then our last main transit to talk about in Leo season is Mercury is going to be going into Virgo July 28th. So Mercury is that real quick planet of thought, communication, and Virgo is this sign of often service. So service looking like, what can I do for others? Comes right after Leo, when Leo's like, what do I do for myself? And then Virgo says, what can I do for others? Virgo can have a tendency to sometimes have a bit of an inferiority complex, or be serving out of obligation, or serving others because you think you're not good enough. And so you're like, well, I better help this person who's, a real person, and I'm just... So that can be the unhealthy side of Virgo, is when we kind of serve out of obligation or a sense of inferiority. Sometimes so we want to be trying to lean into that energy of joyful service, of I have skills and I'd love to help other people. Virgo is also very detail-oriented, loves planning and lists and focusing on the little steps. So Mars is already in Virgo, and that's how we take action. So Mercury coming into Virgo is just really going to help us plan and communicate and think about the details, which is going to be a really good combo with Mars. So we can think, we can communicate, and we can do in those little detailed ways. So Virgo is really kind of like the little habits that we do day to day that add up to change over time, rather than like the big massive change. So it's a little bit more fastidious. It's a little bit more strategic. Sometimes Virgo can be very critical and anxious, like, am I getting overly focused on the details? Is everything in order? Is everything okay? So there can be a little bit of like a controlling nature to Virgo, of just trying to get all the details right and wanting to do a good job. So that can be a useful skill. Obviously, it can be a real challenge if it goes a little bit too far in one direction. So just being aware of that. So that's going to be Mercury moving into Virgo on July 28th. And that's pretty much it for the transits. Again, a lot of it is just that kind of big major node shift. And technically that was in Cancer season. Oops, I forgot to talk about it. Your moon dates for this season is the full moon is going to be the full moon in Aquarius will be on August the 1st. And then your new moon in Leo will be August 16th. So those are your moon dates. And I'm going to pull a card now for Leo season. I'm just going to take this time to say that I am a settler here. I'm not indigenous to the land that I live on, and I'm living on the traditional unceded territories of the Lekwungen-speaking people here on the Pacific Northwest. I am in deep gratitude to the land that I live on and the people who held stewardship here for so long, and that have given me the space and not willingly to live and to do my spiritual practice here. So just give that a little mention while I do a little shuffle, see what card wants to come up. I'm sure it'll come up eventually. You just watch me shuffle for a while. Sometimes it takes, oh, there we go. Got one. Just when it was getting awkward. So, all right, we got a card for Leo season, and the card is the King of Swords reversed. So this is the way that he looks the right way up. We have this man, he's dressed almost like a bishop or a pope here. He's got this sword, and then up by him there's sort of this ghostly sort of silhouette imprint of a similar figure, sort of standing on this checkerboard. And there seems like there's either like this mountain top here, like a little mountain goat here, and he's up in the clouds on the top of this mountain. And he came out upside down like that. So just going to go to my big old book here. See what the King of Swords has for us today. All right, King of Swords, knowledge and breadth. At first glance, it seems quite surprising that a man of the church should represent the suit of swords, which symbolize the air element of the mind. It would be more reasonable to expect him as a high priest or in the suit of cups. But the King of Swords is the master of swords, the master of knowledge. His lofty realm of the mind begins high above the mountaintops. Either he has his head in the clouds or develops an independent consciousness, free and independent in his thinking, down to earth and well-grounded. The bishop or man of the church highlights the danger of entertaining false beliefs in a state of worldly innocence. In a positive sense, he reminds us that each piece of knowledge includes its paradoxical opposite, not knowing. The peaks of knowing include the limits of our knowledge as well as the realm in which knowing is transformed into believing. Heaven and earth represent mental absoluteness and practical necessity. He who knows much will also have to define his place between heaven and earth, between God and the world. Success or failure depend very much upon your ability to question yourself and to view yourself from the outside. The shadowy figure on the left indicates the positive ability to look at yourself from a neutral perspective with loving and at the same time critical eyes. But the shadow also warns you to beware of splitting yourself into two halves, a potentially extremely serious state. Use your mental powers to better understand your needs and how to fulfill them. It is your conscious handling of the unconscious that will result in a better understanding of yourself and help you to overcome half-truths, superstition, and disbelief. Practical advice. Try to understand what it is that you do not know about yourself and others, and what you cannot know. Make sure you understand your most important needs and expectations. In order to achieve this end, it is most helpful to have all the mirrors of your mind well polished and to know your own star. Okay, so this one feels really kind of lined up with a lot of what we were talking about, that Aries energy in the North Node and Chiron, in that it's very much talking about knowing yourself. So it's looking at it through the mental realm of what do we know about ourselves, what do we believe about ourselves and the world, but it keeps landing into that to that ego state of knowing yourself, being the master of what you know, understanding your needs and how to fulfill them. What do you know about yourself? And I love that it includes the fact that we always have a limit to what we know. There is a ceiling. This man on the mountain, he knows he has this mountain of knowledge that he stands on, but above him is the sky and the heavens of what he does not know. So he's hit the limits. So a true master knows their limit. A true master understands what they know and knows where they cannot learn more. Maybe they can push that limit. Maybe they can keep building, but they always do know when they've hit their ceiling in a way that kind of a novice or an amateur doesn't know yet, because, you know, they're still learning and they know that there's still so much they have to learn. So it's an interesting thing that while we're on the sort of quest of self-discovery and we're bringing in a lot more energy of who am I and shaping ourselves, it's almost like we kind of have this kind of realistic like reminder that there isn't really a finish line, and that it's okay to not know everything about yourself. It's okay to not like arrive at knowing who I am. It's okay to know as much as you know and to have as much mastery over yourself and the knowledge of who you are as you can have at any one time. And then be okay that you're still going to have unanswered questions about yourself. You're always going to be surprised by yourself. You might be able to continue your whole life to push that limit of knowing who you are and to gain more knowledge. But the quest for self-knowledge is an open-ended quest. It is not one that has a finish line. It's not one that you'll ever really be able to achieve it. When you achieve it, that's essentially when life is over. Once there is nothing more to learn because there's nothing more to experience. So it's this really kind of, I don't know, I kind of like it in this, while we're in this energy of, dive into yourself, learn more, grow more, but don't get stressed out. Like, don't feel like somebody's, ahead of you, or that you're never going to make it, or that if you don't know yourself, that you're doing something wrong, or that if you keep discovering about yourself, then, I just should have known this already. Like, it's okay. A true master knows doesn't know what he doesn't know, but he sees that he doesn't know it all. And this card is very much a mental card. The Suit of Swords is very much about what we think and what we understand. But as human beings, we have our cortex and our cognition that can reflect on other areas. We can reflect on our experiential body knowledge of what our body knows. We can experience about what our feelings, we can think about our feelings. So even though we have parts of us that are not just our mental processes, we have parts of us, and our sense of ego and our Aries knowing of ourselves is not just what we think about ourselves. It is what our body knows, what our nervous system has saved, what our emotions can teach us. It is a massively multifaceted mental, emotional, physical, spiritual journey to find that ego. But this King of Swords is just allowing us to lean into the confidence of still having an observer, still having that cognitive person who reflects on all of the different ways in which we experience ourselves, and is comfortable with that knowledge, and is comfortable with the fact that there is a limit as well. So I like this card. It actually, personally, it feels like it takes a little bit of stress off of that sort of large quest. So it really is just make sure you understand your most important needs rather than feeling like you have to know everything. And yeah, so I'm just going to leave it with that. The only other thing I'm going to pull in with that card is to tie it to the Leo season energy in general, which is we're doing all of this personal growth, this personal discovery of ourselves, but we're in Leo season, and Leo invites us to share. Leo invites us to express. Leo invites us to come out of a hermit state, especially out of Cancer season. Cancer can be kind of hermited, and to say, don't just discover who you are for yourself, discover who you are and share yourself with your community, with your family, with your friends. Join society. We are social beings. So yes, and many of us and many pieces of ourselves we're only really going to meet and discover in connection with others. So our egos are formed as individuals in a collective group of other individuals. So we can learn much on our own and in our kind of hermit state, in our inner world, but there's much about ourselves that we're only really going to discover in community with others. And once you've discovered who you are, then share it. Because that's how people are going to meet the true you. It's only sort of half the battle if you might know on the inside who you are, but your expression, external expression, is still somebody who you're not. Then, you know, the sign of truly knowing something is to embody it. Otherwise, you just sort of theoretically know it. So you really only will truly know and meet who you are when you are expressing it and living it and being witnessed as that person. So that is that invitation to bring that sort of, you know, that mastery, that mastery of yourself. And we're still learning. This came out upside down. So we're on the path to this mastery, but we're not there yet. We don't have this ultimate knowledge of ourselves yet. But every piece that we find, there's this invitation in Leo season to share it and express it. So with people you trust, or people you don't, if you want to put yourself in that position, that'll be its own form of teaching. So that's that. I'm just going to leave it with that. So lots going on with the self and our expression of it. And yeah, it's really big. This node switch is a bit, all the astrologers are going on about how big deal. So I'll just lean into that a little bit, but, yeah, so best of luck to you. This is, oh, right. The money thing. This is a pay what you can workshop. The link is down below for the donation link to pay what you can. For me, this is what I'm building into as one of my livelihoods. I do appreciate all of your support, and it does allow me to keep creating this content. So do please be generous as I form my Leo expression of my gift and my craft to you. Also, feel free on the YouTube to like and help me out that way. Maybe some comments below and all of that good stuff. So thank you so much. I will see you next season, and best of luck in this Leo time.